Okay, so training events, and the first one I'm going to talk about is land nav. But before I do that, I just want to touch a little bit on what those training events are. There are 7 training events, and by training event I mean things that count towards your OML, and your OML is your order of merits list. So basically your GPA in the class for the street to seaters. It goes land navigation, and then there are 3 tests, and this isn't in a particular order. Land navigation, 3 tests. You have to do a military brief, and you have to do a 6K ruck, and you have a PT test at the end. Now, I'm not sure what the PT test is like now, the whole ACFT and not being graded until 2022. I don't really know anything about that, but it was a thing when I went through. And basically how you do in those training events is, you know, what you get in the class, and that's how they differentiate between distinguished undergraduate, and then everybody else, commandant's list. I was second in my class. I missed it by like 0.00002%, and that's and I'm sure the person right behind me was off by 0.00002% too. It's super competitive. And at the end of the day, look, this is all I got for my staying up sleepless nights and studying. It's just a little plaque that says you were honor graduate. Distinguished honor graduate actually got $100, so you know that's a thing. There's a couple other awards they give out. Iron Warrant, the person who has the highest PT score, and if a lot of people got 300s, so it's whoever gets the highest PT score and the fastest ruck march time, they get the Iron Warrant, which is a $50 reward. And then there's the Leadership Award. There are a bunch of other little awards. But the Distinguished Honor Graduate, those are the ones that are accounted for those 7 training events. Now, the first training event that you'll do is the land navigation course. And they do this first because it is actually the one that weeds the most people out. And as a street to seater, you have the advantage of just having gone through basic and just having had those land nav skills, because they're kind of fresh in your mind. And if they're not, they really should be. So when you go to basic, really pay attention to land navigation. It's never going to leave you, and it's only going to get harder. And I can speak from experience, it's only going to get harder when you take to the skies. So you really want to practice, you really want to be up on that land nav skills. But basically, they'll give you a class. They'll give you a big long class on how to do land nav, and how to do land nav in Lower Alabama, or as we like to call it, LA. And they might even give you some free chicken in those classes. But what it comes down to here, and now I'll talk a little bit, assuming that you know a little bit about land nav. It really comes down to pace count, and that's basically it. The headings and stuff, yeah, you have to be on the right heading. I would say plus or minus 10, which is huge. The thing is, there are paths, because warrant officer candidates go through this course once every 2 weeks, right? It doesn't take a genius to if you've got a good plan, a good pace count, and you go, okay, I'm going to follow this road for 500 meters, and it's really not even that big. It's more like 200 to 300 meters. So here's a picture with somebody with their plan out. You can see, you know, how we carry it, everything we have on us. But yeah, so I was saying. And then I'm going to turn to my right, and I'm going to go in for 75 meters, and that's where my point's going to be. Because technically it's an easy land nav course because you can go on hardball roads. Apparently in other schools in the Army, you're not allowed to go, even in basic training, there was no hardball roads. So the catch here is there's no good terrain association because it's basically flat. You're using a 1 to 50 thousandths map instead of a 1 to 25 thousandths map. And there's a bunch of trees, so dead reckoning is hard. So it's all about your pace count, and that's the thing I would say. If you've got time to practice, or you want to practice in a basic training, pace count, pace count, pace count. Because what's going to happen, like I said, you go 300 meters up this road, you're going to turn to the left, directly east, and you're going to say, okay, 75 meters in, oh, look, there's a path right here that hundreds of students have taken. And you do a pace count, 75 meters, and you stop, you'll come up to a point, right? So pace count, pace count, pace count. There's 4 points, you have to find 3. And it's pretty easy. I had a terrible experience. No, I had a great time, but you walk around with your map. You have a little card, your planning card, and then your score sheet, the one where you put your numbers on there. And I got to my first point. I was like, going, first point, right on point. And I'm okay, this is my plan for my second point. I'm following my plan to my second point. I get to my second point, and I didn't have my map. And you have to come back with everything that you leave with, or else you fail. And my heart sank. It was terrible. I was like, for 2 seconds, and then you say stop. It's like, obviously I had my plan, so all I'm gonna do is backtrack. And I backtracked. I got back to the point where I was at, and then I started walking back to the other point. And at that point, I started to like kind of freak out again because, I wasn't finding it. I wasn't sure, was this the path I took? And then I heard somebody stepping on sticks, because everybody's running around. It's not that big of an area. You'll run into people. You're not supposed to talk to anybody. But I heard somebody breaking sticks, stepping on sticks, and coughing, and and then he went the other way. Once we made eye contact, he just left the other way, went to where he was standing, and I found my map. It was, I owed him my life, right? It was pretty funny. And then, so I found my second point, and then after that, I was just playing catch up. So I just ran the rest of the course. But it's pretty easy if you got a good pace count, you've got a good plan. And like I said, they'll give you a class on it beforehand, and just don't get intimidated by it. Work on that pace count, and you'll be fine. Like I did say, it's the thing that weeds out the most people. But I think people get, especially people who've already been in the Army, get a little overconfident, even though they haven't done it in a long time. And there will be, the top reason that people don't make it is they run out of time, or they flipped 2 points. So they went to all the right points, but on their score sheet, they put 1 point in line number 1 and the other point in line number 2 when they were supposed to be flipped. And well, they got both of those wrong, and so you fail. Right? It's kind of a terrible thing. Like, you went to all your points, you know how to land nav, you just got a little dyslexic or something, and they fail, right? So when I went through, there was a ranger, like land nav is his thing. He taught a class on how to land nav before we went, and then that's what he did. He flipped the 2 point, and he failed. He had to retest again the next day. And I forgot to say, another reason you might not pass is if you cheat. And you could cheat by asking people where a point is, or basically just that. Or if you like sneak in a GPS device or something. But this picture here is there to show you that the cadre are watching, and you might not see them before they see you. So here's the cadre in a ghillie suit, and he's just out there making sure people don't cheat. So don't cheat, because that'll get you kicked out of the program real quick. But like I was talking about, if you fail these events. If you fail, and this goes for all training events, if you fail a training event, for land nav, you get less than 3 points. For the ruck march, if you do it in less than 110 minutes, I think, Sorry, in more than 110 minutes. For the test, if you score less than a 70, and for the PT test, obviously fail the PT test. Actually, the PT test, if you fail, that's automatic out. But everything else, if you get less than that 70%, you get retrained and retested. If you fail that retest, then you get set back. If you get set back, it's kind of a terrible thing. And I'll make a video on setbacks because I was set back, not because I failed, but because of my security clearance didn't come through in time. So I'll make a whole video about that.